I need to get water. All right, where do I even start? How do I start this? What's up, everybody? Tony here, and Crystal and I got COVID. I guess it's our COVID story, both from my point of view. Crystal had put a post up on Facebook about everything that's happening. Whew, okay. This might be hard to get through because I usually talk a lot anyway, but I get winded pretty easily right now. So, Crystal's back at work today. She had symptoms before I did. So it's kind of weird because then her 2 weeks of isolation was up last Friday. And I still have like another week. So I don't know how that works with the symptoms and isolation. I don't know if she's supposed to still be isolating herself because I had symptoms a week after she did. I got a call from my work today. Oh God, I can't even think of it. Occupational health. And they just called to check up on me to see if I could go back to work this week. But when I called them today, I'm still having a lot of symptoms, and they're going to call me again on Wednesday to see where we're going to go from there. I'm 10 days into when I first had symptoms. So I didn't hit the full 14 days, and I guess if I was able to go back to work, I'd be going back tomorrow. But I'm not yet. Okay, let's start at the beginning. I'm like jumping ahead here, talking about these other things. 2 weeks ago from Friday, which was on November 6th, I had a procedure. On Thursday night, November 5th, the kids stayed the night at my mother-in-law's house. And that was because my procedure was in the morning. So Crystal asked for the day off of work. So she was off so she could take me to the procedure and then take me home. Because I was going to take like a 10 milligram diazepam. It's nothing major. I just had a vasectomy. So I was going to have the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off to recuperate and blah, blah, blah. Friday morning rolls around and Crystal's feeling a little bit sick, but she's not really sick. She feels like it's her allergies just because the weather's been changing a lot lately. She took me to the appointment, got the procedure done. Just really quick. We were in and out of there. We came back home and I just rested Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. On those 3 days, on Saturday, Crystal started to have a fever. On Sunday, she was kind of laid out, which was fine because then we were both laid out and the kids weren't home anyway since I was recuperating. And then on Monday, November 9th, was my first day at my new job at Norfolk General Pharmacy. On that day, Crystal was feeling really sick, so she didn't go to work. She actually went to the Velocity clinic right around the corner from our house to get tested for COVID, but she tested negative. And then she was off for the rest of the week. I went to work. I usually work later shifts, later in the day. So I'm used to being up, because I'm used to being up later. But it was my first week there, and you have to kind of cycle through shifts. So I guess starting they had me working the morning shift. So it was like 7:30 to 4. And I'm not used to working that early on a regular basis. Like getting used to the morning shift was really hard for me. Because I don't like mornings. I'm not a morning person like whatsoever. I was doing okay. I got up early on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and it was fine. And then on Thursday, and granted, through this whole thing, Crystal's been sick, so she's been staying home. Her fever had gone away, but she's just been like sick. But she had tested negative for COVID, so we were like, okay, maybe it's something else. Maybe it's the flu. I was hoping that I wasn't going to catch it, but I thought it was because like on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we were walking around the hospital a lot, so it was fine. But on Thursday, they had me training at what they call desk. And you're kind of at this desk, and then you stay in the pharmacy. You don't really travel anywhere in the hospital for that job. But you walk around the pharmacy a lot. But then we were standing in front of the computer a lot, too. So I didn't know if it was because I was standing in front of the computer a lot. That's why my knees were hurting, and I wasn't really, like, walking around. And I think I was locking my knees a lot. So I thought that might have been the issue. So on my lunch break, I took some ibuprofen. Just help with the pain, and then I thought maybe I was hungry, but I ate, and then I took a little nap in my car too, and I woke up and I felt fine. Went back into the hospital, and every time we go back into the hospital at any entrance, they take our temperature with one of those. So came up just fine, and I was feeling a lot better. I thought maybe I was just worn out because I had been working mornings all week, and I'm not used to working mornings and getting up early. So when I came home, I was like, I'm gonna take a nap because I do feel sluggish, tired. And I woke up and I had a fever. I had a slight fever at first. I felt warm. My temperature wasn't really high. It was like 99, so it wasn't over 100. So I was like, maybe I'm just like, because the way I was sleeping, maybe I was just burning up a little bit. Plus, we had turned the heat on in the house. I don't know. There were just so many things. I was like, I won't call work yet. My work's open 24 hours anyway. This is my first week at work, so of course you don't want to call out sick. But at the same time, if I have a fever, I'm not going to go into work. Oh my God. Sitting here and talking is a lot of work for me. I'm like sweating right now. I don't think it has to do with the lights because I feel cool, but I'm just like sweating. Okay. So for the rest of that night, I was laid out. The kids, I forgot to say this, the kids hadn't been home all week just because Crystal was sick and because the kids have to go to grandma's house all the time. We didn't want them coming back and then catching the flu, if that's what Crystal had, and then going back to grandma's house. So we just let them stay there all week. So I went back to sleep and I pretty much slept all night. I woke up at like 4 o'clock in the morning, just burning up. I was on fire. And I checked my temperature and my temperature was 102.9. So I called the front desk of the pharmacy and I told them that I wasn't going to be coming in. I told them I'd call them back and let them know what my results were because I told them I was going to go to the hospital in the morning to get tested for COVID. So here's the thing, like I know Crystal tested negative, but I still thought just to kind of clear myself from COVID, maybe it's the flu instead, I would go get tested in the morning. So I went to go get tested. They didn't have any appointments, so I had to walk in and I was hoping they had one of the quick tests, which takes about 20 minutes instead of having to wait days for the results. Did the test. I waited in my car for about 15 minutes and the lady came out and brought me my results. I was positive for COVID. It was a miserable morning just because my head was pounding and my fever was like still way up there. So we assumed that Crystal had gotten a false negative. Crystal got it from work, we think. And that's just because she had a coworker that she works close with that also tested positive. I gotta do homework with Landon. He's so behind. We got so behind with Landon's schoolwork because of this. And I feel bad having to rely on Eva to do everything that we would normally do. But it's temporary and we're trying to keep everybody safe. That way nobody else in the family catches this. There are all these symptoms that I found out about after we caught COVID. Crystal and I joined this COVID survivors support group. And we learned a lot of stuff about things that we didn't know that were issues before. And then I think 60 Minutes did an episode on COVID survivors, and they call themselves long haulers. I'm going to talk about some of that stuff here in a minute. I'm just trying to gather my thoughts a little bit. Fuck, I'm sweating. Crystal and I have had some very similar symptoms, but we've had some that are very different from each other too. And it seems like the symptoms vary a lot from person to person. I have a coworker, early October, she caught COVID and she's still out of work now. She was hospitalized because of it. She had breathing issues as it was anyway. So when it hit her hard. And then there are people that don't have any symptoms at all, asymptomatic. And then there are people like Crystal and I who have flu-like symptoms and then mild symptoms that last for a long time, which feels like that's the direction we're heading in. Mine started with a fever and body aches, like lots of body aches, fatigue, and at one point it felt like my kidneys, like right back here on both sides, it hurt. It felt like someone had been like, not really like punching them hard, but it felt like someone was like just beating them like this. And I don't know, they just hurt really bad for like 3 days. The body aches, kind of like the flu. And then the one thing they kept saying was don't sleep on your back. That could cause pneumonia because the positioning of the lungs when you sleep on your back. And you have to lay on your stomach. But I couldn't lay on my stomach because of the procedure that I just had. The fever went down and I still had like a ton of body aches. Of course, the cough, sore throat. Crystal had a lot of drainage in her nasal passages. The fever for me, like when it started, then it went away, and then I would get like chills randomly, but I wouldn't have a fever. I would just get chills. Crystal lost her taste and smell. It's starting to come back now. Like she's starting to taste a couple of different things. I know for some people it lasted longer. But when it hit, she really like couldn't smell or taste anything. And actually, she started getting a little depressed because every now and then we would order something that we really like to eat, just to kind of put a smile on her face, and she couldn't taste any of it. So she started getting really upset about that. That never happened to me. I never lost my smell or taste. Oh, and the one thing that happened to Crystal was that when she would eat, she wouldn't feel like she actually ate anything. It was something weird. Like she said, like she knows that she ate because she ate, but her stomach still felt like it was empty. For me, it was more like I just eat a little bit and I feel like I'm gonna throw up. My appetite's been I've been eating like maybe once or twice a day. Same time, I'm not burning as much energy because I'm not moving around that much. What else? Shortness of breath. Just been having trouble breathing. Like I pulled in the trash bins the other day, and I was just like done after that. I don't know. The one thing that I had no idea about was I call it the COVID fog. I think that's what they're calling it, and it feels like your head's in a fog. I constantly feel like that. Crystal does too. I don't know how intense it still is for her or not, but it's still really like I feel like it's hard for me to convince myself to do anything. Like I know that I'm awake and I know that this is real, but I get lost in it sometimes, and it's hard for me to think. One thing that I'm scared of is, like I said earlier, this whole thing about long haulers where these symptoms last for months. I'm just afraid that that's where Crystal and I are gonna be. The hardest thing for me is like convincing myself to get up and do things. I have a lot of things that I need to be doing right now, especially because I had like the week off, which I'm not really off. I'm trying to recuperate, but I thought at least maybe I could sit in front of my laptop and do like a ton of work. But I just like I'll be laying there and I'll wake up in the morning and I'll wake up and feel like, oh, I feel better today. But as soon as I stand up and start moving around, I just fall right back into it. And it's like, it's depressing. It's so depressing. So I'm trying to like get myself in the right mindset for it. But it's just, as soon as I sit up and start trying to do something, I just want to lay back down and I just give up and I just keep giving into it. Also, I had this headache just like won't go away. I've had it for like a week and a half now. Well, since it all started, and it started off like pounding, but now it's like I can feel it there, like this thing in my head that just won't go away, and it's driving me crazy. Oh, yeah. Okay, so we got contacted by the Virginia Department of Health. Every day at 4 o'clock for me, which is going to be coming up soon, I have to do this. I get a text message, and I have to it's a Sarah Alert Daily Report for VB32. I guess that's our zone. But I click on the link every day when they text me, and I just have to list the symptoms that I'm feeling for that day. I thought Crystal was doing it too, but apparently since her test technically came back negative, they're not making her do it. Oh, shit. So I don't know why she's not having to do this every day. Oh, and also, before going back to work, we don't have to go and get tested to test negative. Because apparently, for up to 3 months, we could keep testing positive. Everyone's experience with this is different. You can't assume that because you're young that you're going to be asymptomatic, that you're going to be just fine. I'm not saying that I'm like very young. I'm 32. I'm not in the best shape as a lot of people, as some people are, but I'm not in terrible shape either. I was working out like 4 to 5 times a week. I didn't like doing cardio, and that's just because I have really bad knees. So I can't run. So I do walk. a lot, like around the neighborhood. Like Landon and I would go on our morning walks together since he's been home. Like I said, I'm fairly young and I was in fairly decent shape, and I feel like this is completely just messing me up. There are lasting effects of this virus that could continue for months. It messes up your whole mental state. That's where I'm at right now. I'm just hoping that it's not going to be a lasting symptom of this. Because I feel like when you give up mentally, it makes it so much harder to get over this. And I'm kind of in that point where I feel like I'm giving up mentally every day. It's so hard for me to. The kids haven't been home. By the time the kids come home, it's gonna have been like 3 weeks since we've seen them. And I miss them so much. I just want to hold them, but gotta keep them safe. Landon had his dance thing. It was like exhibition. I don't know what they call it. It's Landon's taking hip hop dance classes, and they're getting ready for a competition, which we don't know if that's still gonna happen or not. But on Saturday they did their dance, and we got to watch it live online because none of the parents were allowed to stay. I really wish we could have been there with them because I know parents weren't allowed in there, so I couldn't have been with them anyway. But it would have been so nice to be able to like watch them do the dance online and then on the live stream, and then be able to see him afterwards and just tell him what a great job he did, and then to be able to drop him off and tell him good luck. Because he said he was nervous, and it'd be nice to be able to like be there with him and talk him through it. I kept trying to call him while they were driving up there, and he didn't answer his phone. And then by the time I got a hold of Eva, Landon was already in there, so I couldn't even talk to him anymore. And it's just, I don't know. I was very sad about that. It's been a shitty fucking week. When everything first happened, our friend Angelica came by and dropped off a ton of teas, ginger root, just a bunch of stuff, and soups. And we really appreciate it. Thank you, Angelica. Our friend Sean, we put in an order for groceries at Walmart, and he went to the drive-in spot to pick it up for us and brought it to us. Thank you so much for that, Sean. We really appreciate it. My mom, thank you for dropping off food to us as well. She made us some arroz caldo. And Mark, thank you for dropping off the bread, the water, and all the food as well. Madel brought us donuts. Thanks for that. It was a nice pick-me-up. Dorothy and the Carlisles, they dropped off a care package and some like bath salts and then little tubs to soak our feet in, and a salt, a big salt stone thing. It's like a light. We've had that plugged up in the living room and on since you brought it to us. And excuse me, I think there were a couple of other items in there. But yeah, thanks to everybody that's been bringing us things and dropping things off. We really appreciate it. Thanks to everybody that's texted us and prayed for us, and just everything. You guys have been awesome. It's been really helpful hearing from people through this process and being able to talk to people about it. Oh God, I gotta end this video. Everybody be safe out there. Thank you very much for hanging out with me today, guys. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, if it was informative in any way. If you have any questions about COVID, put them down below. I'll try to answer things. I've been trying to keep up with it as much as possible before I got sick, and now that I'm sick, all the extra stuff that I've been learning because of this. Subscribe if you aren't already, and hit the bell icon to get notifications of when we post new videos. Catch you guys in the next one.